Hey y'all, I'm a Georgia girl who used to live in Savannah, Georgia for several years, and today I'm bringing you a true Southern classic, shrimp Creole, straight from the famed Mrs. Wilkes Boarding House restaurant. This recipe comes from a vintage 1990s cookbook, and best of all, it's very easy to make and very delicious. So let's get cooking. The first step is to saute 1/2 cup of minced green bell pepper and 1 onion that you've chopped up. And I like a lot of onion and pepper in my dishes, so I'm using a little bit more than what the recipe calls for. And I also like mine to be cut into big chunks, but you do it however you want. And I'm using an electric skillet. This is a large capacity electric skillet. I'm also using olive oil, about a tablespoon, to saute my vegetables. The original recipe calls for using 1/4 cup butter, but that's a little bit too rich for me, so I'm just going to use some olive oil. And I'm also adding about 2 cloves of minced garlic. And obviously you don't need an electric skillet for this recipe. I just like to use it. You can use a large frying pan with a lid. That's what I would typically use before I bought this. I'm just using this because it holds more food. Now I'm adding 1 32-ounce can of diced tomatoes. Now I'm adding my spices. I'm adding 1 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of paprika, 1/8 teaspoon rosemary, 1/8 teaspoon black pepper, and 1/8 teaspoon cayenne pepper. And of course, you can adjust your seasonings however you wish. I am staying true to her original recipe, but I did tweak the spices just a little bit, but not much. Now I'm adding a 1/2 tablespoon of sugar. You can add a little bit more or less if you want to, or you can skip this step entirely if you don't want to add sugar. But this is to help make the dish more palatable and to help balance out the acidity, because tomatoes can taste very bitter. Now I'm adding just a little bit of hot sauce because I think it will enhance the flavor of this dish. And of course you can add as much or as little as you like, or you can skip it entirely. It's up to you. You can use whatever brand you want. And then once you do that, you're going to cover everything with a lid. You're going to allow it to simmer for about 15 minutes before you add your shrimp. And last but not least, it's time to add the shrimp. I'm using medium-sized shrimp. These are frozen shrimp that are supposed to be peeled and deveined. Of course, I thawed them out before cooking them. Occasionally, I can still find a vein in some of them, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. The original recipe calls for using cooked shrimp, which is something that I didn't notice right away until after I made this dish. So if you want to use pre-cooked shrimp, I guess you can do that too. I covered my shrimp just to make sure that they are completely done. They do cook very fast, so you don't want to overcook them, but yet you don't want to eat undercooked shrimp either. So it usually just takes maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes or so for the shrimp to be thoroughly done. I mean, you'll know by the way they look if they're done or not. I can't stand the thought of eating raw shrimp, so I have to make sure all of them are done. And there you have it, shrimp Creole, straight from a Mrs. Wilkes Boarding House cookbook from Savannah, Georgia. It's absolutely delicious, served over spaghetti or orzo pasta. And of course, it's also delicious served over rice, which I think is the traditional way to eat it. But it doesn't matter. You can serve it over rice or pasta, whatever your preference is. Okay guys, that's it for this video. Thank you for joining me. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and please do consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already done so.